In the small southern Lebanese town of Toura, daylight reveals the aftermath of another night of airstrikes. The air is thick with the scent of burning metal and dust. Residents walk carefully over shattered glass and broken concrete. The sound of shifting debris echoes through streets that, until recently, were home to workshops and small family businesses. Lebanon's health ministry confirmed that one person was killed in this latest Israeli strike. The attack, according to Israeli officials, was aimed at what they described as Hezbollah infrastructure in the area. Yet, what stands now is not a military site, but a cluster of ruined workshops, their tools scattered among the rubble. Among those surveying the destruction is Ahmad Kayal, a blacksmith whose livelihood once depended on the small metalworking shop that stood here. He pauses, his face coated with dust, and gestures toward the remains of twisted iron beams and charred tools. There was a carpentry workshop here, he says softly, and up there, a blacksmith's workshop. The blacksmiths made doors, windows, and chairs like all the other craftsmen. His voice breaks slightly, but he continues, pointing to the heap of what was once a community's source of income. Israel are targeting all industrial sites like carpentry workshops, metalworking shops, and cement mixers, he adds. Why are they targeting them? Because they don't want us to be able to recover and restart our businesses. Around him, the scene is both ordinary and surreal. A man lifts a piece of corrugated metal, another carefully pulls a broken welding machine from under a slab of concrete. In the background, smoke still rises from what appears to be a direct hit, a blackened crater where the roof collapsed inward. Lebanese soldiers have cordoned off the area. They inspect the crater, measuring and photographing the impact zone as small groups of residents stand silently nearby. One soldier kneels to collect fragments of metal believed to be from the missile casing. Another notes down coordinates, while a local volunteer carries a first aid kit through the wreckage.
For residents, this is the latest chapter in a familiar cycle of destruction. Southern Lebanon has long been a flashpoint in the regional confrontation between Israel and Hezbollah.
Each time hostilities flare, it is the civilians, farmers, craftsmen, families who bear the heaviest burden. This latest strike came after Israel ordered residents of 3 villages near the border to evacuate, citing what it called operational activity against Hezbollah rearmament efforts. In Tel Aviv, Israeli officials argue that such strikes are preemptive, aimed at preventing the group from rebuilding weapons caches near the border. But on the ground, in places like Toura, what remains are shattered homes and silent workshops. The war of narratives continues. Israel insists it is targeting militant infrastructure. Lebanese officials counter that civilian and economic sites are being destroyed systematically. Independent observers say the truth often lies somewhere in between, where the fog of war blurs lines between military necessity and human suffering. For Ahmad, those debates mean little. He wipes his hands on his clothes and looks across the ruins of his shop. The tools he once used to build have now been reduced to twisted scraps. The hum of machinery that once defined this neighborhood is gone, replaced by the dull sound of rubble shifting underfoot. Look around, he says, shaking his head. We used to work from morning till night. Now, what is left? A nearby woman, her headscarf covered in dust, lifts a small wooden chair from the debris, its legs broken but intact enough to recognize the craft that once flourished here. This belonged to my brother's shop, she says. He made these for schools in Tyre. Her words capture a deeper loss, the erosion not only of infrastructure but of dignity. The small workshops that lined these streets represented independence for many Lebanese families, a way to survive economic hardship and political instability. As the day progresses, civil defense teams arrive to clear the area. Bulldozers move slowly, pushing aside collapsed walls while firefighters douse lingering flames. Children watch from a distance, their expressions unreadable. Each strike deepens a sense of uncertainty that has gripped southern Lebanon for months. Analysts say the escalation comes amid renewed border tensions, with Hezbollah accused of launching reconnaissance drones into Israeli territory. The group denies initiating attacks but vows to respond to what it calls Israeli aggression. Israeli military officials maintain that their operations will continue until threats to northern communities are neutralized. Meanwhile, the Lebanese government has appealed to the United Nations, calling for restraint and international intervention to prevent what officials warn could become a wider regional conflict. In Beirut, the Foreign Ministry issued a statement condemning what it described as repeated violations of Lebanese sovereignty, urging the Security Council to enforce Resolution 1701, the agreement that ended the 2006 war between Israel and Hezbollah. For now, diplomacy feels distant in Toura. Here, people are focused on more immediate concerns, finding tools, salvaging what they can, and comforting neighbours who have lost loved ones. The electricity is out, water lines are broken. Yet, amid the ruins, there is resilience. A group of young men gathers near the edge of the crater, discussing how they might rebuild once it's safe. One of them, his shirt smeared with ash, says, "We'll start again, we always do." The sound of hammering resumes not the rhythmic work of production, but the tentative effort to clear and reconstruct. Someone erects a temporary tent from tarpaulin and wood, beams. It is both shelter and statement, a sign that life, however fragile, continues. The camera pans to the horizon where smoke still curls into the sky. The frame widens, showing the rolling hills that define Lebanon's southern frontier. For decades, this landscape has endured countless clashes, each leaving scars both visible and unseen. As the sun begins to set, the orange light catches the outlines of the damaged buildings. The scene turns almost cinematic, though the emotions remain raw and real. A soldier pauses for a moment of silence beside the crater before walking away. Ahmad and a few neighbours remain behind, continuing to search through the debris for anything salvageable, a wrench, a hammer, a memory of the life they once knew. In moments like these, the conflict statistics, 1 killed, several injured, feel painfully insufficient. What cannot be measured is the loss of continuity, of livelihoods, of community fabric torn apart piece by piece. Lebanon's southern towns have lived through wars, truces, and promises of reconstruction. Each time, the promise fades before the work can truly begin. Yet, the spirit of rebuilding never fully disappears. For Ahmad Kayal and countless others, that spirit is now the only thing left unbroken. He looks once more at the sky darkened by smoke and says quietly, as if to himself, "We will make doors again. We will make windows again." The camera lingers for a moment before fading to black. The sound of hammering continues faintly in the background, a reminder that even in the wake of destruction,
هون منجرة خشب وفوق عنجارة كمان حديد. حداد فرنجي بيعمل كرسي، طاولة، باب، شباك، بيطلب أي حداد يا خيي. هلا عم يستهدفوا هلا كل شيء اسمه صناعة، خشب، حديد، بطون، مشبل كله عم يستهدفوا كرمال شو؟ ما توقف على أجراك.